So 12 years ago, USD. So, and next slide. And this was me with Dr. Guillermo Balanta. So I was a medical intern. So again, just wanting to go back to where I started. So I write mainly online. So my background is online. So I started writing. I have about 10,000 followers on Twitter, on Facebook, around 4,000. And every time I write something, I would post it in my blog. So, for example, this is a new essay about the patient, one of my recent patients who died. So whenever I write an essay, I would post it, and that's where I usually get feedback from my readers online. And much of my book, my first book, were drawn from essays that I posted in my blog. Next. So I submitted my manuscript in 2017, and hopefully out this September, October. Next. So it's called Some Days You Can't See. I just wanted to describe the content of the book. So it's about 30 essays, around 180 pages, about 30 essays. And it's divided into three chapters. So I'd like to think of these chapters as concentric circles. So the first one is In Which I Pass or Fail, where I describe my journey as a medical student, how I started. Uh, it was hard for me. It was hard for me becoming a doctor. Uh, it was almost impossible to begin with. We were poor. I'm the eldest in the children. We were five kids. We were a family of seven. And if I hadn't gone into UP, if I wasn't an ablation scholar, I wouldn't have been a doctor. If I hadn't gone into intermed. So that essentially is what's being described there. So those are the essays that was far. So this is really how so from the time I started as a doctor, neurosurgery resident is 5 years. And you really give up 5 years to become a neurosurgeon. This describes all the hardships. So my Palanca essay, that's the main essay of this part. Essentially this time the focus now is no longer the grades. So kasi yung first part is really just about getting the grade, passing. So those are my concerns. This time which you leave or stay. As you all know, a lot of doctors they leave. I decided to come back home. I spent time in Australia. I spent a lot of time abroad, but I'm here. I decided to come home to start private practice here. Mainly because I feel indebted to UK. And so in this patient, I operate on the brain. The wife set up and the way to the hospital. And all that pa siya. So again, it's not just survival. It's not just in the hospital, you are like, no, but actually in the streets. So this is where I tackle the bigger issues on the healthcare system. So the difference between my first book and this book. So the first book ends with my first patient as a private as a consultant who's finished already. So the first book, they're really short essays. Because I was writing online. So I was writing for babes.com, I was writing for my blog. And you know that the attention span of the internet is just 500 to 800 words. And I was writing in between duties, sleepless nights. So I would scribble down on sheets of paper, mga physical notes, and I would scribble down. And then on my free time, I would type on my computer and then post my blog. So, and it was really just me wanting to, when you go through training, when you have to face life and death every day, and you just have these moments that you carry with you. And as a patient you've taken care of, before your operation, life is talking, the patient dies on you. And sometimes you don't know what to do with it. I didn't know what to do with these things. That if I just carry this around, it will weigh you down. And then we are taught in training to just go on. You can't just cry there in the corner because there are many other patients who have to be helped, who still come to the hospital. And writing was my way of uh, trying to make sense of these things. But then the problem is that it was so limited. So when I was actually revising my manuscript for the first book, that was when I felt na, sayang, I could have written much more with this material. I knew, because I had been writing for a very long time, I knew I could propel the story forward, but I felt that they were not deep enough. That I could have explored this topic further. So, yun yung na-realize ko. And that's what I wanted to do with the second book. So with the second book now, this book essentially takes off from how it's about how to start your practice. What it's like to be a new doctor in the Philippines, which is becoming harder and harder to do. So it's hard enough to go in, to become a doctor. It's even harder to become a doctor in the Philippines. I anticipate longer essays, maybe about 2,000, 3,000 words on the average. And now I have, the nice thing is I now have the time to write. And I don't have to be in a hurry. I don't have to limit myself to 500 words. Because I'm not just writing for the Twitter or Facebook audience anymore. And of course, I want to reach out to a wider audience. Before, when I was writing, my target really was med students, those who want to go become high school students who are surfing the internet. Next. And some of the essays, I said the first two essays, so the essays I submitted for the workshop, I submit those because I wanted to show you what I could write. One is light and easy, just basically just telling you how I want to Palanca, my journey as a writer. It's also just, I don't know if you remember your first Palanca and how important it was to you. And I wanted to relive that moment. And I wanted to write it down because I don't want to forget how it was when I first won. And now, of course, I know, and I agree, it's not the end. It's not the end. As I said in the essay, my patients would not care about the Palanca. My patients would, if it mattered to them, that I saved them. But it was special, and it gives an idea of my journey as a writer. And it's light. The second essay, siguro sa percentage ng comments, siguro maybe 2/3 of the comment maybe devoted to the second essay. The second essay is probably the most personal one I've written. In my first book, I write mainly about my patients. But this, I wrote about my brother as well, but this one I write about my mother. This one I write about my mother, and I'm also very close to my mother. Now, when I was writing this, so I wrote this specifically for Duwaj. So before I was applying, I really wrote it somewhere. I've always wanted, I knew I would write about my mother at some point, but when the opportunity to join the workshop came, that's when I finally sat down. I wrote this for a period of about a week. And then the other essays, one is the one in my blog recently, an unexpected request. You can view it on the web, on the blog. It's about 2,000 words. I intend to write about how I used to ride the bike at work. So this one, when I was working in Australia. So I will write essays about my experience in Australia, what it's like to be working in a first world country compared to what it's like to be a doctor here in the Philippines. Next. Some of my other essays, driving lessons with my father. This is my father essay. You might have noticed that my essay, Mama's Boy, isn't just about my mother. You also see my father in the story, although he plays medyo nasa background na siya. But I hope I have given you a glimpse of what he's like. And then I write about trade-offs and taking care of oneself as a doctor. So when people look at my CV, they see, oh, neurosurgeon, oh, pediatric neurosurgeon, oh, Palanca winner. They just see what that's there, what's glittering out there. But it has had a lot of trade-offs. And there are really days when I ask myself, was it really worth it? And there's really just so much you can't be a lot of these things. I feel that I'm terrible in many other parts of my life. And I want to write about these things because I don't want to give my readers the false illusion that it was all so easy. The disillusioned teacher. I am associate professor at UP College of Medicine. I've been teaching now for 2-3 years in UP. But I've been teaching for a long time. I've been teaching since I was in high school. In college, as I said, I would tutor high school students to have extra money. I would tutor my classmates for month 17. So I've been teaching also for a long, long time. And every year I teach about 2,000, 3,000 students for the board exam. So when I started teaching in UP, I had some expectations. And then, I don't want to say this, but sometimes you really fall into that thinking, kids these days. So I wanted to write about that. So what it's like to be on the other side, to be a teacher in UP. be honest, I saw myself as a teacher. When I was a student, I already told myself I want to be teaching. So, going back home to Philippine General Hospital, Sir Neil said, no, it might be good to write about something positive about PGH. Because most of the time when people write about PGH, it's just about how people are rude, how the services are inadequate. But actually, it's my home. I spent half my life. I grew up in the Philippine General Hospital. So this year, this coming year, this is our year. I've crossed the halfway mark. I have spent more time in PGH. That's more than half of my life. More than half of my life. I will probably die in PGH. So, and we ask ourselves, why do we keep going back to PGH? Because it's my home. Because when I go to PGH, kahit yung mga manong, security guard, pag dumanan ako, babatiin nila ako. Yung mga nurse, babatiin nila ako. Kahit pagod na pagod ka, bibigyan ka nilang pagkain. And I don't get that anywhere else. I don't get it anywhere else. And even if it's silent, which is why I know that actually, if that's mainly I'm also very happy that my Palaka essay is about PGH. So my Palaka essay isn't just about my life as a neurosurgeon. It's also about PGH, the good and the bad. And that's it. And I wanted to write about it in a positive way. Universal healthcare and the neurosurgeon, as I said, it's very different being a doctor in Australia. In Australia, I never asked my patients, magkano po ang dalhin yung pera? So we never had to ask them, kayo po ba ay charity or paid? So when they come to the hospital, you just do what has to be done. This patient needs an MRI, we get an MRI tonight. But in here, every time if I talk to the family, Sir Lee was asking, so how do you assess how much you'll charge your patients? And I said, no, I just ask, so ano pong trabaho ninyo? Ano pong trabaho ng asawa ninyo? And if they tell, Doc, driver lang po ako, asawa ko po sa bahay lang. And then I ask, so sino pong tutulong sa inyo sa mga gastusin? Imagine you've just been diagnosed with cancer, and then you have to answer these questions. Isn't that horrible? And we have to be good at that. And we have to do that. That's part of what we do. But we don't have to. I knew that in Australia, I didn't have to do these things. I didn't even know where the cashier was in the hospital where I worked because we never talked about money. But in here, money is everything, and it's frustrating for us. My consultant said, you do a different kind of medicine out there. Back home, you do a different kind of medicine. It is. And it is why I want to write about these things, because this is healthcare now. This is part of history. When people look back 20, 30, 40 years from now, what was it like to become a doctor or a patient in the Philippines during that time? Then I could go back to my essays. The other thing, yung may mga unique phenomena kasi sa atin, like example, taking care of OFW's loved ones. So, some of the stories I have, for example, I have a patient with breast cancer, terminal breast cancer, that unfortunately spread to the brain. Now, my burden was I had to tell this patient, yung asawa niya na working abroad as a seaman, how do I tell this patient, you need to tell your husband to come home because she might not live long. So how do you tell that? You don't want to make the patient feel na, mamamatay na ako, malapit ako mamatay. But you also have the urgency to tell them, no, he needs to come home. He needs to come home because I don't know how long you live. And then I had a patient, a child with brain cancer. And then the mother was forced to leave because if she didn't leave, they would not have money to pay for chemotherapy expenses. Imagine having to leave your child with brain cancer. So these are the things that this is the medicine that we see. This is the medicine we practice, and this isn't seen anywhere else. I've had the opportunity to work as a doctor across the world, and this is something that we see here, and it's unique, and I think that it deserves to be written down, because if it's not written down, then we just forget, and we don't improve. The end goal is we want to improve. I've seen what it's like to be in a first world country, and I want to write it down so that people are more aware, because the ordinary person is just aware of what actually happens in the front lines when somebody, his or her loved one gets sick, or if a celebrity gets sick. So, but the ordinary person is actually completely unaware of what's happening, and that's what I want to write. A death on the plane. So again, this is just some of my more unique experiences as a doctor. On my flight home, a patient with cancer died on the plane, and I was the only doctor on the plane. nose at me, and maybe I should write about it. And he was with his wife, and I felt, I was looking at the wife when he was that. So he was transferred to the business class, wrapped in linen, and they sat next to each other. And the wife couldn't even grieve for her husband who just died. And it was, mabigat lang talaga siyang dalhin. And I think that yung mga, these stories, it's really, in this book, really, I don't want to be here in the next book. Because my first book I wrote when not two-thirds of me about me. I wanted to write about other people and how these people could inspire so many others. That we could see their strengths, their weaknesses, and you know when the scary thing is when I read my essays, these actually happen in real life. When I was after I finished my manuscript and I read it again, a few months later, I realized, oh, that's a scary. This is not fiction. These are actual people who lived and died, who suffered, who became happy. So I think that was scary. That's a scary moment for me. And then finally, I think that every doctor must learn how to tell a good story. In medical school, when we present our diagnosis to our consultants, we present the story. What happened? What was the sequence of events? So storytelling is important in medicine. And I was telling Sir that medical humanities is gaining momentum at the moment. Even abroad, people are looking at medical humanities because in medical humanities, in reading literature, that's where you learn about empathy. You don't learn about empathy in your textbooks, in your hardcore textbooks. That is where you learn, in literature, that is where you learn that doctors can. So I will end with this. This is a message I received from Twitter, maybe a couple of feedback. So this was a high school student who apparently had been reading my essays, my blog, since she wanted to become a doctor. And in here, she applied for Intermed, the same program I finished in UP. And she said that she had herself interviewed because she got into the shortlist. The good news was she got accepted. And this is why I write. So in my book, in the first essay, this was about, the first essay is A Boy Who Dreamed. So this is when people ask me, why do you write? I write to pay it forward. I think I've been given much more than what I deserve. So I write to pay it forward. If these essays would inspire even just one person to push further in all things seen and yielding, to strive for one's best instead of settling for what is mediocre, to choose what is right and what is kind, when the alternative would have been an easier way out, or simply to believe in the impossible in order to do good, as I hope I have, then I would suppose that the stories of a boy would be the wrong thing. Thanks. So thank you for welcoming me to the ICW family.
Oh, wala na, tapos na. Okay, wow, I told Ron that I am not the idea I wanted for myself, and up to now, I am in awe of doctors. I have a sister who's a doctor, I have a brother-in-law who's a doctor, cousins who are doctors. Two other sisters are nurses, and a brother is a medical technologist. So everyone who's really in the medical field. I was on my way to being a doctor, and something happened. UST happened. But you know, if writing is a privilege that only a few are fortunate enough to possess, then how entirely wonderful it is that someone like Ron has it. Not only because he deserves it, but also because he wants it. He's the best kind of person to write. I mean, he's coming from a good place. He is writing about experiences that not everyone possesses. He's a doctor. He's in the public health sector. He is, I think, had the privilege of experiencing comparative medicines. You know, he's been to the first world. He works here, and that's probably what emboldened him to write. You know, it's really he writes out of he critiques with the idea of raising awareness so that the public health sector can be improved. Okay, so he has a mission in a way, but he's also writing from his own life. And last night when we were talking, sabi niya, ayaw na nga raw niyang gamitin yung personal life niya as material. So yung kanyang mama piece, parang it took a lot for him to write that. because he's normally been writing about his patients. Um, we have questions, I'm sure, about his writing, no, about his work, because we have the evidence of the two essays with us and his own presentation and the poetics. No? But I think maybe one of the questions we might wish to ask him has to do with ethics. No? How readily do you give yourself the permission to write about the suffering of others? It is a good question to ask. We all write about suffering, and you're writing nonfiction, meaning these are events that truly took place, right? And you're not imagining people who are suffering. These are people who really did suffer, and they were your patients. Do you have any ethical dilemmas when you set out to write about the suffering of one patient or another patient? Because I think the more mature you are as a writer, then the more complicated, no, your own process should be when it comes to writing about the suffering of other people. Particularly since, well, this was something that Adorno, I don't know if you've heard of him, no? Marxist critic, uh, sort of warned people about. Now, after the Second World War and the Holocaust, there was this sort of spate of lyric poetry condemning the Holocaust. But they all were aesthetic beautifications, really, of what was horrific. And he has this quote, no, after Auschwitz, writing poetry is barbaric, meaning it's civilization itself that produced the genocides. No? And art coming up is one of the sort of like flowers or the bouquet of civilization. Art cannot exculpate the civilization that actually is responsible for that kind of suffering. So you have to be self-reflexive when you use art in order to condemn suffering when art was part and parcel of the civilization that caused it. You know, you have anecdotes of how the Schutzstaffel, no, the SS, the Nazis, they were sort of herding people into the gas chambers and they were whistling melodies from Beethoven. A very cultured, very civilized world that produced that. No? So, yeah, so let's ask him if he's thinking about his thoughts and. All right.
So it does happen. It happens when I'm treating a patient, when I'm taking care of a patient, and the writer tells me, "Oh, this is a good story." So then of course the doctor has to say no. What usually happens is that it's very hard for me to write about the patient when events are unfolding. So I usually end up, I usually wait a while. I usually wait weeks, months. So I have lots of pieces of paper with scribble of actual dialogues, lines, what patients said to me in clinic. And they're all in a pile, and they're all just waiting to be written. And if anything I've learned, and I think still the most important part is respect for privacy. That is still the most important, especially now with the Privacy Act.
How do you operationalize that respect?
So definitely I change names. Sometimes I change circumstances. If it would not alter the story. Some patients I ask, is it okay if I write about your story? And they say yes. And I've had patients come across stories about them, even the ones who died, and they're very thankful still. But I feel that it still goes back to how you take care of them as a doctor. I think that's still the most important one. And the doctor you see in the story is very much it's the doctor they meet in person. I think if it's if it's the same individual they see in the story and the doctor they meet in the clinic, then they usually don't have problems.
Are you a hero in most of your stories? I'm sorry, I have to ask that, no? Are
Why?
you heroic?
That's one of the things I tried to
Kayo
avoid
na
when I write my essays. So if you look at my essays, it isn't just about the successes. So that's a fun part about reading the second part of my book. You don't know whether the patient will live or die at the end of the story. So so that's why I call sometimes you can save them, some days you can save them. Well, you don't know whether the patient in the story will live or die, and that will make you turn the page. And I said it's really that the stories are meant to humanize medicine. It's meant to show that doctors are not it's cliche, but your doctors are not perfect.
Yes. medyo hard na yung question at simulan na hard na kagad, no? But I think there's so much to work on because you have two substantial pieces for us. So let's now allow people to weigh in and give their impressions, comments, questions. Let's ask and anyone na lang wants to. Yeah.
Ngayon, pagbati sa paglawak dito sa workshop, piling ko maraming mag-komento dun sa una, dun sa palama. So, pag may time pa, singit na ako dun, pero pasok ako dun sa pangalawang essay tungkol sa nanay. So, dadaanan natin sa sharing. So, yung mga kilala ko, alam nila na close kami yung nanay ko. Lagi ko siya binibideo ko nagsusuka. So, ito, so, in-effort niya. So, nag-toto costume, tapos may dance number siya ng tatay ko na super sayaw. At dahil kabuyaw to, may pang-mobile. So, yung may ilaw na core, yung makulay siya. Hindi, dapat may nanay ko, binibideo ko siya yung sayaw siya nung Hawaiian dance. Tapos, isa doon sa na-realize ko doon, 10:50. Parang, syempre ganda-ganda ako sa mama ko. Parang isa siya sa mga pinakamagandang tao kapag nagsasayaw. At nandun siya sa happy zone niya. Pero, ang napansin ko rin, sinihingan siya. Tapos, may realization lang na maganda yung mama ko kapag pinakamasaya siya, pero mamamatay siya. Parang nandun siya sa zone na hindi na siya yung pinaka-healthy. Hindi na siya yung pinaka-okay yung katawan. At maaaring hindi siya mamatay that year or 2 years, pero nandun na siya sa ganung lugar. So siguro, hindi ko lang kung question o comment. So pag titignan ko yung trabaho mo, kahit yung dalawang sample naman, may certain struggle na baka articulate yung ibang tao kasi language-wise, kita-kita naman yung facility. Kaya yung pagiging tama ng bandas, tama ng grammar, nandoon. At maganda yung imagery ng na-appreciate ko yung sa bus, yung pagsuka, iba pa. May question yung pagkakasulat. So mula dun sa Sonoma, we do not surrender, we'll keep dodging cars and trucks and trains, hanggang sa I promise we'll cross it. Pero sama, parang feeling ko medyo hindi yung inaasahan kong ending kasi parang yung lumalabas kasi dito na sentimento na ayaw pang i-confront either ng persona binubuo bilang writer o ikaw mismo bilang writer kasi non-fictional piece ito, yung fact na yung may possibility nga na hindi nga kayo magka-cross together. At binanggit mo siya somehow dun sa page 25 yung sa part na I got my license all right, but I failed to look after who should have been my most important patient. So nandun naman siya. So I guess yung hindi ko lang missing pa o yung hindi pa nahaharap yung pag-confront na sa lahat na ng na-achieve nitong persona bilang surgeon ay yung pag-entertain ng possibility na papunta na siya dun sa paggabay dun sa isa sa pinakamalagang tao sa buhay niya na papunta dun sa kamatayan. At ang maximum na magagawa niya actually ay pag-aanin ng kanyang buhay at maging masaya kahit na nandun talaga yung window na pawala na siya. So, gusto ko sanang ipa-entertain sa iyo yung ganong pagharap. Kasi baka yun din, hindi natin alam yung buong collection ng essays. Pero pero may feeling ako na may ilang parts na hindi ko lang kung consciously or unconsciously ayaw mo pang harapin gaya ng ganong klaseng truth at binabanggit mo yung tungkol sa medical humanities. At isa naman talaga sa idea ng humanities, yung ganong klaseng side na tatagubay tayo minsan, pero gaya nga nung sa nasabi mo kanina, hindi tayo magtatagumpay. So, may ganun. Hindi ko lang kung gaano ka conscious about it na may iniiwasan ka ba talagang i-confront minsan sa mga material o pwede ko mga sagutin ako.
Thank you for asking that, but maybe we can also add to that or maybe
Later.
Paraphrase that a bit. Is there a difference between writing about family and writing about patients? Kasi yung question ni Vlad has to do with writing more about your mom and then sort of exploring more, no? that or trying to dwell more on the thoughts of mortality, particularly in regard to your own family. No? May difference ba yung dalawang yun? So that remember that, I'll answer it. And then Roland was raising his hand.
Bakit hindi sagutin na?
Sagutin mo na muna. Sige.
Thank you, Vlad. The answer is, I don't want to talk about my mom dying yet. I'm not living on, which is why the ending. So, the kidney transplant is the way out. We were supposed to get it last December, but something happened. That's another essay. She almost died. That's another essay. So that's the other half you're probably looking for. And I probably won't write about any of my parents dying at the time. Personally, I just don't want to. I'm not ready yet. So maybe at some point I would write about it, but not yet.
Yun din siguro yung point niya nung pag-erase dito na bilang writer, baka may certain necessity na kahit ayaw mo, parang hindi parang service mo rin sa mga tao na humaharap sa ganung problema na sikaling harapin, parang gano'n. At ano to, parang, alam ko parang ang morbid ng hinihingi. Pero mas, for purposes of discussion, kasi nag-usap tayo tungkol sa pag-produce ng body of work na for a broad audience, discussing humanity, at i-recognize ko yun, choice ito, pero yun nga, hinaharap ko rin yung ganung klaseng.
Ron, I was sort of privy to what was happening because Ron and I were processing his manuscript, and then he did tell me that the transplant that they were looking forward to could not be done, no, because of a medical complication that took place. So, alam ko na since it's not when he was younger and he wanted to take up medicine, he did not foresee that once he became a doctor, he would have to treat his own parents and he would have to bear that burden of, since he's the only doctor in the family, siya ang magiging doctor ng mga magulang niya. And when he got to that point, the doctor na nga siya, matanda na yung mga magulang at meron ng mga sakit. So maybe he can sort of pursue that line of thinking further if he writes that essay, no? Which is both retrospective but also goes to the present. But not specifically about the transplant or the kidney issue yet, no? Because that's unfolding as of now. Yes, so.
I just wanted to respond to what you were saying about writing about your parents dying. Yeah, I remember, ginawa ko yun bago years before mamatay yung tatay ko. So you do that as a kind of preemptive act. Parang sinusulat mo na yung eksena bago mangyari, para pag mangyari, medyo handa ka na eh. And then of course I wrote it about it again after he died. Ang isa to sa mga function ng literatura para sa atin, yung maaga pa lang parang ma-anticipate mo na ma-preempt yung mga alam mo darating na masasakit na sa buhay mo. But also just to give some context to what Ron has been doing here. Naalala ko, binanggit ko kagabi na Jim, many years ago may sinulat akong isang essay tungkol sa mga doktor na naging manunulat. Kasi merong pumapasok yung tradisyon na pinapasukan ni Ron. Nagmumula yung kina François Rabelais, kina Anton Chekhov. Ang interesting dito ay si Chekhov naging doktor muna bago naging manunulat. At naging manunulat siya kasi sabi nga niya, sa panahon niya noon, dun sa pinagtatrabaho niya sa Russia, napakalit ng kita niya bilang doktor. Kaya kinailangan niya magsulat para madagdagan yung kita niya. This is why Chekhov wrote hundreds of stories in his lifetime. I mean, most of them are probably forgettable because he'd really churned them out. Ito naman ang isang note para sa atin na, when you write stories, when you write stories, whatever, you don't write necessarily to be remembered like you write to survive. That's what these people were doing. Hanap buhay yan, hindi pa literatura yan noon. Anyway, Chekhov did that, and of course we go to people like Somerset Maugham, and then much later on to ito medyo panahon nyo na, sino Michael Crichton, Oliver Sacks, at ang pinaka-idolo ko sa kanilang lahat, Dr. Writers, a guy named Richard Selzer, who writes the most beautiful essays about things like the spleen, the liver, both essays and fiction. Isa sa mga istorya ni Selzer, who happens to also be a surgeon. And isa sa mga istorya niya ay tungkol sa isang isang lalaki na namatay at yung puso niya binigay sa isa pang lalaki. And around a few years after he passed away, the donor's widow yearned to hear that heart. And so she sought out the man and listened to the heart beating. Ang galing na ano. Mahusay talaga magsulat. And this is Richard Selzer. He's clearly someone who has gone far beyond his own, of course, drawn from experience, malamang yan. Pero hindi na siya yung pinag-uusapan ng ibang tao na. And that, I think, is really the next step for people like Ron at some point to take. Maybe not yet now, siyempre, still dealing with very close experiences. But that's going to be that should be on your horizon. Like Somerset Maugham, yung pagiging doktor mo, lumilitaw yan sa of human bondage ni Maugham. May hospital pa na setting dyan. Pero yung mga istorya niya, like yung mga classic stories like Rain, wala na yung pagka-doktor na. Although, siguro yung kanyang empathy nandun. And that's what he takes out of medicine to bring into literature, which is the most important thing.
Naalala ko bigla yung issue kay Luis Gatmaitan. Tinitira kasi siya sa pagsusulat ng kwento pambata. Dahil puro yun na lang sinusulat niya, parang wala na siyang kaya. Pero kung hindi gagawin ni Luis, sino gagawa nun? Na nabanggit mo rin dito sa tula. So, bukod sa sinabi ni Sir Butch, yung sa Rizal, kasi nakikita ko no more white coats without an overcoat na ginawa ni Amban. Parang ganun din yung attempt na ginagawa mo. Parang dance na pakita yung tao sa kaso mo. Ganun din. Paano kaya, halimbawa, yung ikaw na nagsusulat bilang doktor, at isa yung collection mismo, na nakikita ko kung ililista ko, may nakikita akong 5 na posibleng libro. Ikaw bilang doktor, bilang anak, bilang estudyante, bilang guro, bilang manulat, yung kung mag-aasawa ka, bilang bana o husband, at bilang tatay kung magkakaanak ka. So, nakikita ko 7 libro na nakikita kong darating sa harap mo yan. Nakikita ko rin yung punto de vista mo na kaya mong gawin dahil ikaw ay doktor na mahusay magsulat. Versus, sabi mo nga, I would like to die at PGH, sabi mo. Sa tingin ko, hindi sasabihin ni Joey Bakira yun, dahil sa PGH din siya. Yung sinulat ko yung sagat sa buto, bilang pasyente naman, mahusay sa magsulat ka lang, nandun sa kabilang bagay ng bakot bilang pasyente. At nanalo ng National Book Award. Smile naman dyan. Ang isang ko pa, nakikita ko dito ay yung maganda yung posisyon mo doon sa bigay kaya. Yung kung anong kaya mong ibigay. Siguro yun nga, kung i-classify mo bilang doktor, papasok siya doon. Lahat ng mga kwento, sanay-sanay tungkol doon. No? Nakikita ko rin minsan, kung kwento mo sa tatay mo, may pagka, laughter of my father, si Bolo. Kaya lang yun sa'yo, parang, sabihin na, mas elegante lang yung magkakakwento mo. Nakikita ko rin yung halaga ng EQ, no? Emotional quotient sa'yo bilang manod. Sabi ko na kanina yung sinabi ko tungkol sa pagpananalo ng palangka at patawad ko napakarami ng sinabi ko kasi matagal akong hindi nakakapagsalita. Alin na to, William Carlos Williams, naalala ko rin. Arturo Rotor, naalala ko rin po kasi sinabi sa Bruce. Pero yun nga, wala yung pagiging doktor nila eh. Nagawa nila yan at intention naman nila yan. Sa kaso mo, wala ka namang ganong pagkukunwari o pagdidistansya sa iyong ginagawa. So, ang isa pa, yung nakita ko ritong ellipsis na more than 3 sa may Mama's Boy, naging issue yun nung nasa Siliban kami, nagalit si Dr. Edilberto Tempo kay Timotes kasi ang hilig-hilig gumawa nito. Kasi anong gusto ko pa narating parang yung sa movie o sa video 3 years later. 3 years after yung gano'n ba? So bakit, no? Nakikita kung di po gawin, ba't di ka gumawa ng mga ganyan ka-ikli na lang? No? Yung pang YouTubeable, parang gano'n, no? Yung pang Facebookable. Naging gano'n, parang Kasi alam ko mabibigat na yung mga issues na dinadala nyo kay doktor ka, kay pasyente. Yung parang portable, yung book mo na nagiging parang CD size na ganito yung kaiklit, no? Ang ganito yung kaiklit. Kalasin mo kaya ito sa Mama's Boy. Isang ganito, di ba? Tapos with illustration kung gusto mong mas magaan tignan. No? Naalala ko particular mo si Dr. Vic Alvarez. Oh, naklase ko yung misis niya. Pinadala lang hindi niya alam ng mister niya, yung mga essay sa akin. Sabi ko, hindi ako magko-comment dito kasi gusto kong pahabain niya. Kasi nga, dahil ang dami niya sinusulat, neurosurgeon din siya, no? Wala siyang time tapusin. So, ngayon, hindi pa sumasagot, hindi ko alam kung nagalit sa comment ko yung kasama niya. Pero, ang kaganda, kasi nga, parang kagaya ng ginagawa mo, sinisingit mo lang kapag free time mo eh. Kung may free time ka. Pero yung sana, kung malinaw sa'yo kung gaano kahahaba, kung maganda yun na, parang titignan mo lang na, parang, doctor's life made easy, parang gano'n na maikli lang, pagiging pwede kang makilala sa ganun. Unless may bala kang ibang proyekto. Salamat.
Thank you. I saw June's hand first, and then Jing, and then Roland. Okay. We'll hear from the fellows shortly also, please.
Yung binilang ko itong ito, yung mga ellipses, 10. So, 10 fragmented. Ang iniisip ko, hindi pa ito buo, parang reminder ng Jordan. No? Yung binibilang ko to, ang strong dito yung tenderness yung memory dun sa mother, tapos konti dun sa tatay. Yung pain, merong konti Inano ko lang yung chemistry kung paano para mabuo. Tapos yung denial, na may iba pa akong hahanapin doon. Yung kung dinideny mo yan, some form of sublimation siguro elsewhere para makuha ko kung ano yung ayaw mong i-discuss. Ang hinahanap ko rito kung palalakasin ito, yung mga unsaid yung ayaw mong sabihin. Pwede mo namang guluhin yung isip ko, pwede mong kwan. But then, necessitated yung ganung structure kasi yung distance. So yung fear, yun ngayon yung gusto kong kabahan But then hindi ako makakaba kasi yung conflict one-dimensional Ang conflict lang pag nawala si nanay It is more than that. Yung na ayaw mong ikwento rito, kasi yung sa poetics mo, kaya yun very strong, lahat ng fear mo nakalabas dun Dito, ang dami mong gustong ikwento na ayaw mong ikwento. And then, anong gagawin ko as a reader? Ano ba? Yung ganito kasi confessional So hanggang ikinukwento mo yung nanay mo, ang ma-discover dito ikaw. Pero hindi ka naman namin ma-discover dito. So yung ano yung nasa kabila ng quote na yung binanggit mo sa ikaw hindi ka na doktor, hindi ka na writer, anak ka lang siguro ano yung gano'n. Tapos lastly, ang curious ako, has nothing to do with my comment. Kamag-anak ito ng kwento ni Jerry Los Baños. So palagay ko si Jerry ang maraming itatanong dito.
Kwento ni Jerry.
Maraming salamat, June. Jing.
Hi, Ron. I'm not going to ask you about the pieces that are here. I think enough has been said about it. Just one thing. I totally understand what you were saying, that you are not ready to write about the end of it because you want your mother to make it. So I think we should just respect that. Maybe you will finish this later. My question has to do with the larger project, the second collection. the past few years of my life, I have spent a great part of it inside a hospital, not PGH, but the Philippine Heart Center, which is not very different, I think, being a government hospital. The patients were my husband and my daughter, who eventually died. During these years that I spent there, I got to observe the doctors quite a bit and to become curious about what they were like as people, no? Because the job seemed to me, to be so complicated and so difficult. I was interested in how they either got attached or did not get attached to their patients. I could see the effort not to get attached, especially when they knew that the patient would probably not make it. No? But sometimes the human side would it could be seen anyway, or I could feel it. And then the other thing is the ethical issues. In the case of my daughter, we had to make a decision whether to disconnect, um, I don't know what you call them, tubes or whatever the life support, yes. And in the end, it's the doctors who will help you decide. No? The family has no idea whether in fact it is hopeless or it is not, whether it's ethical or not. So the doctors pala are the ones who help you decide. So I'm curious whether your stories are going to deal with any of that side of being a doctor, no? Which to me is probably more difficult than the science side, which you have been trained for. Anyway, I remember you told me that the body is like a machine and you're taught how to handle that machine so that when you operate, you know what to do. What about the other side, those things that I brought up? And I'm still dealing pala with those doctors because now I keep getting sick myself.
He's going to write down questions and comments so he can respond to everything when we finish with Bomen. So we'll have now Roland and then Bomen. Okay. And then we will ask sila muna and then we'll go back. Okay.
Well, these are really wonderful fields being unfolded to us as readers. No? But I just get a sense that, at least from the two pieces, no? It's overly hopeful or optimistic. Parang may lesson learned ka, lalo na sa Palangka contest. Parang nakapit ka that after all this anxiety, and then you get a very um, glossy ending, which is parang uncalled for in terms of yung, the whole dimension of the anxiety of waiting out until at yung yung overly anxious only to find out na nanalo naman pala siya. Like that's my direction target on how to treat this kind of event, life event as a writer. And I also get that sense na parang hindi naman kailangan ganun eh. There has to be a nicer way of, or a more natural way of ending the pieces without kind of intrusion of the author or the writer here. But I guess for me, ang pinakamahirap talaga sulatin ay yung creative nonfiction na confessional. Kasi it's unfolding, it's bearing yourself. And then when you bear yourself, of course, people would want more of this kind of natural trajectory na sa sick mother, and then where will that lead to? At yung difficulty dito, kasi ay you're confessing, but people will want to expect more, and it's also based for most part on a kind of medical experiences, which for most part is not healthy. It's not normal to begin with. So I don't know how this can also be settled if you want really to pursue creative nonfiction. Kasi two things, parang the experiences need to catch up with the insights. Probably hindi pa this time. But also, on the other hand, yung ethical issue that it's really going to be based on misery and pain and anguish, etc. if you're willing also to deal with that more or less on this kind of uh, uh, direction kung creative nonfiction. Vin has suggested what you might want to do a publishing house that also publishes Facebook posts katulad ni Joey De Los Reyes. So, mas popular na klase ng oh,
Whispering.
this kind it's more short and then you really do not expect anything and it's very witty or it's very compassionate, etc. This might be another kind of trajectory. Then you don't need to come up with just a mother being sick and the relationship with the son, etc. So baka yun yung mas, parang hindi ba naghahanap ng logical ending which you are not yet prepared to come in. Pero you might want to also try short story. Kasi then you have it's not going to be authorial for most part. You can you do not need to transcribe the actual comments or questions that your patients do ask, and it might be a more powerful piece in terms of a longer kind of writing. You might want also to venture to that after this or kind of project. Kasi ang point talaga nito, I think that's why si Arturo Fotor chose the short story instead of the creative nonfiction. Kasi nga mas marami siya nagpakwento tungkol sa PGH. And he's not hampered sa klase ng privileged position niya rin within a kind of distraught reality ng PGH. At nagturo ako sa UP Manila, kaya dumadaan ka lang sa PGH, ang daming drama, cadavers nasa hallway lang na takip ng jutsak, family members wailing sa hallway, or pagbukas ko sa natutulog yung mga visitors sa pasyente sa ilalim ng kama. All this drama na klase it might be interesting to also think of other forms in which the story can better be told, not just from a very personalized point of view.
Thank you, Roland. So he's taking note of all these comments and will respond. Moment.
Doon sa problema nung tawag ito yung kwento nga tungkol sa nanay, no, na nagtatapos sa video game. No? Parang kasi yung video game na yun, parang it's like yung strategy natin to make light of something. No? So we use this kind of, no? Pero siguro ang mas, yung binabagay ni Sir June dito na kung paano mapalitaw ano, yung ating, yung pinaka, talagang deep anxiety about this, is that maybe we can resort to, more poetry, you know. Try to resort to imagery, you know. Try to learn from poetry how you can sublimate yung ganitong klaseng emotions and fears, you know. Na pwede namang napaka-indirect, no? And yet powerful nung ganong klaseng sublimation nung sensation, feeling, you know. Diba? So sige, marami mga pwedeng gawin, you know, to try to at least we could learn some tools and techniques from poetry. Poetry isn't exactly the opposite of prose, ano? Ano yan, pwedeng they flow, ano, into each other. So yun yung mga unsets or yung what we can't say, we can still say in a powerful way, no? Through a poetic way, di ba? Kaya may mga iba't ibang paraan, ano ng mga manual dito. Tapos yung isa kong puntahan na yung anxiety, isa pa anxiety yung nandun sa palangka, no? Siyempre, ikaw kasi, you know, ikaw, basically, you're an achiever, no? You pass all examinations, di ba? Medical board exam, intermediate exam, etc., no? Parang yung palangka, it's one exam, no? It's one thing that will allow you to enter this world of supposed writers, di ba? Pero nung bata rin ako, ay sa library namin sa bahay, mabasa ko sina Oliver Sacks, no? Paborito ng nanay ko yan. Sina Gerald Durrell, ano? I like reading them, no? But they were talking about animals, no? Treating animals, and napakagaling na mga manulat itong mga, hindi naman talaga, they're full-time writers. They write about their profession, no? And about their sciences, no? At nung nag-high school ako sa Philippine Science, ano? Ang daming magagaling na writers doon, no? Kahit pa we weren't being trained to be writers, ang daming magagaling. They he had lots of talent, ano, doon sa Pisay. Kaya lang, kahit nga yung pinsan ko, nagaling doon, magaling magsulat. Tapos, ano to, no, so nakita ko lang yung problema talaga ay, kung paano mag-persist. No? Kung paano magpatuloy. Dahil marami tayong nakilala ng mga magagaling dyan no? Pati yung girlfriend ko nag-aaral yan sa dati, sa PGH. Magaling na manulat yun, magaling na makata, kaya rin tumigil Dahil sa buhay doktor. I don't know if that's contradictory, Ang punto lang siguro, napakatindi nga ng schedules, na kinakailangan dyan. Pero sa totoo lang ay, kahit hindi maging full-time writer tayo, we live life full-time, di ba? And if we live life full-time, then I think we can write about it, no? You don't have to have hang-ups or anxieties about having not being full-time or professional writers, no? Yung buhay na araw-araw nating nasa buhay. Kaya yung mga writer dito, gusto natin lahat na magsikap magsulat ang mga tao, di ba? Na hindi lang tayo dito. So, yun yung siguro some anxiety that you're working through as a writer. Ditong nakaraang mga UP graduations, because I'm required to go to all UP graduations. I went through all ditong nakaraan. Yung pinakamagaling na nagpasa ng kanyang speech na yung kanyang valedictorian ay computer scientist. Ang galing nung kanyang speech sa UP Cebu. In fact, yung mga katabi ko ng mga UP officials, amazed sila. Ang galing magsulat itong bata ito. Talagang gusto pakinggan natin ang sabi niya. He graduated computer science. And yet his speech was the best speech sa lahat ng mga UP units. Kaya yung problema talaga dito, paano masustain? Paano magpatuloy? Paano ma-encourage yung ganitong klaseng effort, ganitong klaseng will to write about your life and experiences as you are a doctor.
Yeah. It's
Thank you so
really
much. Ang
lifestyle
dami ng
choice.
comments. We haven't heard from the fellows yet, but we will now allow Ron to respond. Kasi marami na rin siyang notes na
We value visuals in general.
Okay, so I think in essence we heard several suggestions of other genres you might wish to explore in order to, I think, pursue some of your ambitions pa na mukhang the CNF4 may actually impede you from pursuing. Kasi you're a little concerned about telling too much about being too confessional also. So maybe fiction can address that. And then poetry can, which is the most evocative genre, can actually, you don't have to state too many things, but because poetry is indirect, you're actually already saying it anyway by unsaying it. So yung mga potential possible options for you. He will address more particular questions now.
Trivia lang, nung natanggap ko ako sa USD workshop, maikling kwento yun. So, it wasn't non-fiction. So, I started, nung nagsisimula ako magsulat, it was more fiction. And then, actually, nung nag-fiction ng Filipino. Tapos, nung residence fair, nung naging resident na kasi ako, I was training. Sabi ko, parang, somehow quite. And then, when I was reading in high school, most of what I've read much more short stories than essays. So, I've read much more short stories than essays. So, kaya when I write my essays, so, medyo, marami nagsasabi sa akin na para silang short stories. Kaya hindi ako magaling kunyari, if I go to a place, hindi ako magaling mag-describe ng pinasyalan ko. So, I cannot write travel essays. It's very narrative driven. So, definitely Sir Roland, actually, yun yung pangarap ko. That's actually one of my things, what I wanted to learn here also. So, it's nice kasi this workshop might lead me to doing this, doing fiction later on, because at some point I don't want to write about myself and my patients anymore. So it definitely is one of the goals. And that's why I also think to be here. Now with regards to the endings, it might be because I'm a doctor. That's why I default to hope at the end. It might have to be because I'm a doctor. Because with what I do as a doctor, it's very hard to deprive your patients of hope. Because sometimes that's all they have. So again, that might be the fault of me being a doctor. Now, I do have some stories that don't end well. In my first book, you will read about stories where it's not always very hopeful. It just so happened that these two stories ended home. Now, you might want to read my latest blog. Right? It's Ma'am G, kasi asked about how doctors deal with when their patients are dying, end of life. So my blog, it's an essay about one of my patients who died. And it's about how do you tell a child that the child needs to get operated on for a brain tumor? How do you talk to a child about that? And how do you tell the parents that the child is dying? So yun dun ko siya explore. So and then definitely there is always end of life care, talking to families about do not resuscitate orders. That's definitely one of the things I learned. I write about death a lot. So there's no scarcity of death in my essays. Kaya sabi ko, itong dalawang essay na workshop, medyo iba din sila dun sa ibang iba sila dun sa content ng first book. These are not the usual essays I write. And then kay Sir June, regarding being one-sided and the story, I suppose really what really hampers me is the topic is actually for me to actually write this essay it was very difficult. I was really struggling. How much should I write? Knowing that my mother will read it, knowing that she knows there's something in it. You see, there's one part where we're talking. I couldn't even face her. But she was facing the wall. I was looking up, and we're talking about dying in 10 years, 5 years, 20 years. I couldn't even face her. So so that's the metaphor in its entirety. I cannot talk to her directly about it. And I think that shows it is. That shows it is. So maybe when I'm 50 or 60 and your mother's gone, maybe I start plotting for her. Maybe that's it.
Neil, may I just
Yes.
add one thing?
Okay, Jing, and then Luna, and then Vin. Okay.
Yeah,
And then please, the fellows, I'm gonna force you to talk. Okay.
When I was saying what my expectations are, I began with language. But when I was commenting on your work, I did not mention it, and I want to mention it now because I think that you handle the language beautifully. I didn't want the session to end. I think we went directly to the contents. It sometimes happens when the writer is the grasp on the language is very good. Then we tend to overlook it and talk about other things. But I think you should be complimented on that.
Thank you, Paul. Coming from you, thank you, Paul.
Thank you. Kaya hindi na yun na-comment kasi hindi na siya problem. Yes, Luna now.
Just to layer the narrative, iniisip ko lang kung anong palagay mo bilang doktor sa mga folk medicine. Kasi kung yung folk medicine, malamang ang nanay mo ay may paniwala na hindi saklaw ng medisina. Kahit na napatunayan mo na ba dun sa text na siya ay isang relihiyosong tao. Pero alam naman natin na marami tayong mga layers bilang mga tao, Pilipino, di ba? So, ano yung mga pinaniniwalaan niya na magpapahing siguro o mga ritual niya tungkol sa mga gamot o makakagamot sa kanya na parang may resistance ka dun siguro or natatawa ka or the same time parang seryoso. Sa tingin ko, makakadagdag yung ganong insight dun sa sinusulat mo. Kasi kabilang mukha siya ng pagiging doktor. At saka, maganda rin siyang tignan dahil may mga albularyo tayo na nakakagamot, di ba? At baka, naalala ko to kasi nung nakaratay din ng tatay ko sa cancer. Merong isang taga-Palawan na manggagamot na meron siyang ilinagay na PC na kinuha niya mula sa kamiseta ng aking ama, tinali niya dun sa bewang. Tapos, meron siyang binubulong-bulong dun sa tenga ng tatay ko na later sinabi ng aking ama na nakatulog yan Sabi niya gano'n. Nakahinga ako, nakatulog ako. So, baka makatulong dun sa work mo, yung ganung, unless may resistance din ang consciousness.
Yung mga doktor na
Vin, and
even
then
want
Julie.
to talk.
Short lang sabi mo.
Short lang. Hindi ko na
They can
Okay na. Dati kasi sinabi ni Roland kung pwede sa Misprint, baka pwede ulit sa Bill Flores. Kasi kayo naglabas ng Fair Maladies, di ba? Historical yan kasi ang daming kwentong lumabas doon. Kasi very rin, halimbawa, yung pasyente na napaka-articulate, makapagsulat ng mga ginagawa mo. At doon sa Palangka Awards night na sinasabi mo, may nanalo doon na poetry in Filipino. At ang makata na itatago natin sa pangalan ko, Agustino.
Sino?
Anyway, so, yan siguro, kung pwede, halimbawa lang, kung halimbawa pinag-usapan natin, susundin ko lang yung suggested topics per book. Halimbawa, doctor as doctor, baka pwedeng, kung doon ka muna, yung mga stand doon sa yung medical ethics, alternative medicine, so folk medicine, in fiction or creative non-fiction, at dagdag, sa creative non-fiction, pwede mo naman gamitin yung techniques ng poetry, techniques ng fiction. CNF pa rin.
Okay, now Jimmy.
Yeah.
And then Don, and then Charleston, and then Denver.
The doctor deals with human suffering. The doctor deals. My daughter is a doctor, yeah, and works in PGH also. Yeah, but anyway, the doctor deals with human suffering. The subject of literary work or imaginative, creative work is human experience. Yeah. I have a very strong feeling you have the experience of suffering, the substance of this. I think your strength is the experience itself, no? Yeah, it's very moving. Yeah, I think you have to pursue the CNF genre. Yeah, I think that will be you're already strongly based there. Personal experience. No? My point kanina was get real. Yeah? Well, this is real. No? Yeah. The only thing that has to be done is the structuring, the organization of the experience itself. Now, how you structure it, how you organize it. That's what you have to deal with. No? And there's one more thing. Before I forget it, gods, I have Alzheimer already.
Don't say
The neurologist.
Like
one
neurosurgeon.
I think I need a neurosurgeon. The substance of this thing, personally, CNF. How did you as doctor, how did you deal with that experience? How did you deal with that experience? Your mama, yeah? You see, I'm really very struck by the ending of this. We will not surrender and so forth. But you know very well as a doctor that she will not survive. Dialyzer,
No one will survive, Jimmy.
Dialyzer.
No one will survive.
Parang I got to know what is dialysis more personally, more intimately. I don't know about dialysis. Now I know. Now a little bit more. But yeah. So you stick to that. How did you deal as doctors with your own suffering as doctor? How did you deal with that? I'd like to know that. Yeah.
A while back, I asked that big question of how readily should we grant ourselves the permission to write about the suffering of others.
Yeah.
I have read his first manuscript where he talks about the suffering of patients, and he suffers with that. I mean, that's the point, I think, of writing as a doctor about patients, is that he is also being healed because he's also wounded. This is empathy with the suffering patients, and he suffers with them. So there's no, I just asked it as a rhetorical question, but he is actually on the right path. He's not, he's the best kind of person to do this kind of writing, actually.
Actually, I don't want him to give up the CNF.
Yes, neither do I, but I think he can pursue all the options being offered. No? He already knows that the recourse to the game, the video game, is already his attempt to have a metaphor, to have an image that can suggest future directions, and he doesn't have to pursue them like directly. No? Now, Don, who is a non-fiction writer, also will weigh in?
I think what it's the writing that matters, not winning, but that's easy to say because you already won. So, but di ba, so much is how did you get there? So I think when you revise it, maybe you can answer that when you ask yourself, why is storytelling so important to you as a doctor? How did it help you become a doctor? Because I think that would be a better point rather than not winning everything. Diba? So I think, maybe you can explore that later when you revise it. Tapos, for your second piece, yung Mama's Boy, yung ellipsis nga nakastress din yun, diba? But I think that, it does look like a draft, and I think you know why you place the second vignette after the first one. Kasi may transition, hindi mo lang sinulat yung transition. So I think, ayun, balikan mo na lang. Like, for example, when I tried to parang edit, when I tried to think about how I can connect yung for most of my childhood dun sa I'm just my mother's child, maybe could just bring yung I never took offense when my relatives called me Mama's Boy dun sa unang sentence. Kasi when you say, I was just, and mom, dun sa mother's son, and then you could transition to how you were called that in your childhood. So parang ganun. Parang yung next na ellipsis mo, ganun din eh. Parang yung embrace, sinunod mo dun sa tenderness. So alam mo, may connection. You just need to write the transition. And one last thing. When I was listening to you earlier, you said that, the ending of this piece is hopeful. And then you said na, as a doctor, ang default mo always is to be hopeful. But the persona in this yung Mama's Boy na essay says, dun sa, I think what I'm getting with the first two linya says, okay, I'm turning off the doctor side of me now that knows only despair because I know the statistics. I'm turning on the Mama's Boy side. But that's also hopeful. So parang kung as a doctor, hopeful ka na pala, tapos as Mama's Boy, hopeful ka na pala, nawawala yung conflict. Although I'm gonna, I like how quietly you inserted this pairing there.
But Don is writing about his mother, and we give him that hope. Seriously, what are we asking? Seriously, this is serious. This is difficult to write down. Kasi hindi pa tapos naman yung treatment eh. But even the iffiness of the form, yung mga vignette-vignette, nakita mo naman talagang but the material is difficult to wield. And
But I think she's only said.
I do recognize that it is all. I understand how difficult it is to write pieces like this, definitely. So after some time, pag-ulit ka
Huwag
na Vlad. Tapusin mo na someone else, Charleston, yes, and then Vlad.
There used to be a famous Singaporean novelist, was a neurosurgeon, si Gopal Baratham. I think he's passed on. I read one of his books. And for the longest time, he was the only neurosurgeon, I think, in Singapore. So they couldn't, he was untouchable. They couldn't harass him or arrest him or send him. He was untouchable. Kasi otherwise, neurosurgeon. No, they couldn't bother with him too much. Kasi otherwise, walang neurosurgeon sa kanila. So I'm wondering, in the Philippines.
He was asking me if we should prepare a slide of statistics of these things.
Yeah, because I think you actually belong to an elite group. Diba? You're not just some doctor who happens to write.
So just so I don't forget,
This is a very cutting edge field.
the statistics are, so if you have 110 million Filipinos, you have about 40,000 doctors in the country. There are only 120, 130 neurosurgeons. So that's 1 million people for every neurosurgeon. The ideal ratio is 1 neurosurgeon for every 200,000. One for every 100,000 to 200,000. So, and then the problem is, the pediatric neurosurgeons are only about 5 of us who are fully trained. The first 3 are not fully trained, pure pediatric. So they also do general neurosurgery. And the even bigger problem is, of the 120, 130 neurosurgeons, most of them are in the cities. So there are islands with no neurosurgeons. So for example, just 2 weeks ago, I operated on a patient who got a motorcycle crash in Romblon on a Monday. It had to be transported to one of the public hospitals where I work, and I operated on a Wednesday. And on my way to the hospital, I got stuck in traffic for 2
Grabe.
hours. And which is why I think that these stories need to be written, so that more people are aware of what's happening.
Yeah.
What can be done though? We should encourage more people to become neurosurgeons. But we understand the absolute specialness of having
That
him
is
here.
the only way.
And we have forced him to take a break from curing and healing and doing surgeries for 1 week. How many children would that be, no?
Grabe.
might die.
Grabe si
We have to encourage him. There's no other choice. We have to cheer him on. We have to sing his praises. Seriously. It's just absolutely amazing. I was telling him that he has so much fulfillment already as a doctor.
Yeah.
And he wants this extra fulfillment of being a writer.
Yeah.
And I wanted him to have maybe devote an essay to comparing those two different fulfillments, actually. And to look for the contact zone between science and art, because his first essay is actually about the differences between the neurosurgeon and the writer. We need him to reflect on the commonality between those two things. So. And he's read more fiction than non-fiction. Is he can move from point A to B to C to D in terms of narration, but he doesn't dwell too much. So I asked him to actually, when you reach point C, do vertical, go down, rather than move to D and E and F. You understand that's what's lacking. In non-fiction, you're allowed to dwell, you're allowed to reflect. In fiction, that's bad fiction. Talk about the theme of your story. But actually, in non-fiction, you can dwell.
Yeah.
And that prevents your non-fiction from turning self-indulgent, because you just tell the story of your life. But if you actually bring in your reader into this moment of reflection where the reader's own life becomes part of your life, because you bring in a general insight, meaning a moment of philosophizing, then in fact, it becomes less self-indulgent, it becomes real, good non-fiction, diba? So that's what's lacking pa, I think, no? Because everything is still just narration now. So he will move to that in his next book, and this is why we're helping him. Okay, I saw one more hand. I know, Vlad, okay ko na. And then, Denver, sorry. Denver muna, and then Vlad, and then Francis, and then, okay, Jerome, and then Paul. Okay, in that order. And then we're done. Kasi wala na tayo. Okay. Pa-CR lang, sige.
Tatlong bagay, Ron. So, una, yung from risk management perspective, you mentioned earlier about parang nag-sign off or you're asking permission from your patients if they consent you to talk about their cases. I wonder if it's documented somewhere. I'm not sure how it goes medical field. The reason why I'm asking because you mentioned about the data privacy law and Philippines becoming very litigious nowadays, more similar to US. The chance of a doctor being brought to court is higher. So that's the first thing. Second, doon sa Palangka na essay mo, I'm not sure if I missed this when I read it, but I thought that hindi masyadong na-explore kung ano yung Palangka in the very first place and why it's the reason of your anxiety and your burning desire not to win it. The reason why I'm asking because for me I can follow because I'm aware I know what Palangka Award is. I also like one for myself, but how about other readers who are not really aware of Palangka? We are reminded of the poetics of the Malanta who reminded us to mind the audience, the readers. So, yun, that's the second point. Third point is to piggyback on Sir Vim's comment earlier on the format of the book. And you mentioned about the statistics already. I remember yesterday during the bus ride, you mentioned about 40,000 doctors, and I was really amazed and interested by the fact. So maybe dun sa book mo, yung parang may mga facts na nasa sa gilid ng actual essay mo. I think that will make it more sellable. I don't know. Yep. So thank you.
So who's next? Sorry, I have blank.
Okay, balikan ko lang yung sinasabi niyo doon kasi parang na-catch siya doon. At related naman doon sa...
Short lang kasi 5 minutes.
Yes, of course. Yung fact na nasabi nila, Sir Jimmy, Sir June, Sir Bomenyo, yung may missing pa doon sa essay tungkol doon sa pag-open up ako sa distress at anxiety nung death. Yun lang naman yung hinahanap natin. Nabanggit na yung sa poet, yung fact na nabanggit ito ng poet ulit, baka kailangan entertain yung possibility na wala kayong doon. At baka kahit konting bukas, something na yung banggit mo tungkol sa pagtingin sa pader, hindi ka makatingin sa nanay. Bakit dalawa tatlo pang linya na o eksena na parang gano'n? Okay,
you have a lot of that in the first book.
Pero yung sa essay ko na ito, baka wala pa.
Sorry. Kasi ako may privilege, so never mind. Paglabas ng libro, you can read it.
May question na kay Ron. Yung title ng collection is No More White Coats. So parang, what's the implication of that title? So parang, what does it mean? Parang, as the title that's going to parang bind all of these pieces together, parang what are you trying to say? Na parang, is it shedding the coat of the doctor? Kasi parang taliwas siya dun sa poetics kung saan may demarcation si writer and the neurosurgeon. So I think yun din yung problema nung dalawang piece, no? Na parang the first essay is so writer-oriented. Kita mo yung workplace niya, pero you don't really see the doctor in there. It's just the writer. Doon naman, I think you have to meld all of these pieces together. Parang hindi siya hiwalay. Magkasama siya. Parang sinasabi kanina na parang si Sir Binyata, 7 libro siya. Parang hindi. Dapat 1 libro lang siya. At dapat yung anak, yung doktor, yung writer, isa lang siyang tao. So yun yung kulang sa piyesa. I mean, just for me.
I think we can, when he wraps up, he will answer that question, but also tell us again what's different about the second collection. Kasi ang alam ko, may chronological difference talaga siya. Yung first collection is about, it's addressed to aspiring doctors, really. And then the second collection will be about his practice as a consultant already. Meaning, hindi wider readership na siya, hindi lang sa naka-address ng konti sa medical students. Tapos, that will actually answer that question, bakit No More White Coats? It's more or less a more diverse collection, no? With different essays addressing different interests, not just medical. Okay, who's next? Okay, Jerome, sorry. Jerome, hi.
Jerome.
Hi. Sige, Jerome na. Sige, oo. Basta makover natin.
Fictionalize para maiwasan yung pain, suffering ng tao na doktor.
We've been using the word confessional wrongly. It pertains to poetry. Hindi siya for non-fiction, no? When you say non-fiction, this is actually non-fiction itself, no? So it's personal essay, memoir, yun yung mga terms. So confessional is for poetry. And when you say confessional poetry, you're allowed to wear masks and actually invent. Like all these so-called confessional poets, during interviews said, actually I invented this and that. This didn't really happen. So they were just inventing all over the place. Okay. Okay, mga ganyan, no? Mga super, kasi ano siya, naging drama of pain, di ba? Okay, Paul.
Mabilis lang. Connected kay Francis, yung inisip ko yung title. So parang nung una inisip ko, pagtalikod pa to. Totally. Parang temporary lang sa collection na ito. Pero kasi yung sinabi mo kanina while you were discussing your poetics na parang ayaw mo nang pag-usapan yung sa sarili mo or baka yung pagiging doktor lang. Inisip ko rin nung una, baka working title lang ba yung No More White Coats? clothes. Kasi parang, it's like hanging the gloves sa isang boxing niya. So, iniisip ko yun, oo, yung napansin ni Francis na may something na tumatawid sa demarcation point na yun ngayon, sumusunod na sa naisay kasi nandun na ako sa tema na yun sa pagtula at gusto ko yung pagtalakay na hindi masyadong ma-jargon, hindi doktorin na ba't naririnig ko nagsasalita, bahagya lang kasi meron pa rin hindi may iwasan siguro sa mga experiences ng pasyente, paano yung nangyayari sa katawan, mula sa perspective na nasa labas lang nakikita mo, hindi yung talagang nangyayari sa mismo katawan. So somehow nandun yung sanaysay yung pagsusulat sa physical pero psychological at medyo spiritual yung pagtingin sa pagpapagaling o pag-healing treatment sa pasyente at pagbati dito sa ganitong koleksyon na binubuo.
Thank you, Paul. Okay, RB?
Sa akin po, si Magic pa rin si Ginong Matkulot sapagkat nasa kondisyon siya. So ako, nung tinatalakay itong obra niya, naiingit ako kasi siya na bilang isang doktor, nakakita ng maloob ng tao. Nagdala ko sa isip ko, pwedeng tanguin o halawin mula sa pagputok ng yung pagpitik-pitik ng puso, pagpiglas ng ugat, yung mamula-mula. Dito nasa context o kondisyon si Ron na baka pwede ma-explore pa yung ganung bagay.
Kulang pa ng grittiness, ano? Kasi tawag na sa suka vomitus. Tapos yung nag-hemorrhage, it's exsanguinating. Di ba? But I thought those were quaint, di ba? And kind of textured the writing. Yeah. I want Jerry to say something because Jerry is the editor of the book. We have both read the manuscript, the first manuscript. And also Jerry writes non-fiction too.
Password na ba to? When Ron mentioned his characterization of self as facing with his mother, those are the actions I think we were all looking for in terms of characterizing the protagonist, so to speak, in this piece, which he is in these two essays. What struck, well, I have read his first book, so I do know he does that a lot in those books. You can see the struggles of the protagonist, pardon my use of the word, the persona, if you will, as he goes through these very difficult day-to-day decisions. And in the essay where he's talking about life, we're not yet looking for somebody who's resigned as somebody wants that to happen, but I think what we're looking for is the fear, the uncertainty that the accomplished physician realizes may be out of his hands. We're not looking for a statement of that sort, but I think we're looking for the actions, the reactions, the movements that tell us that deep inside there is that fear, the lack of control, that I think would add to the tension and the conflict, which would be the elements of fiction that we would be looking for in this CNN piece. In the second piece, what I was looking for there, by the way, tama yung comment ni Francis, the doctor was not very present in the Palanca essay. And I think that would have been the strength of that piece, that we have this accomplished neurosurgeon who hankers for a Palanca. That was what I was looking for there, I suppose. The irony, the sheer irony of this person whom, come on, most people look up to doctors far more than they look up to writers. How much more neurosurgeons?